Welcome to the Nuclear Power Institute series of Science in the Kitchen, Cooking Up Curiosity. Delivered by our NPI team members, we explore the science, production, automation, distribution, and workforce behind the Texas food industry, using the kitchen and cooking as alternative platforms to convey STEM knowledge and information. Each cooking episode peppers science factoids throughout the demonstration, and each In the Field episode unearths the STEM before food enters the kitchen. So, the next time you're in some type of field or in some sort of kitchen, we hope we've cooked up your curiosity to discover the science while you're there.
Welcome to Science in the Kitchen, Cooking Up Curiosity. My name is Valerie Wingerson and I am one of the YEAST Regional Coordinators with NPI. Today my husband and I will be making naan, which is a type of leavened flatbread. Leavened breads include an agent that causes those breads to rise. The agent can be yeast, baking soda, or baking powder. Naan uses both baking powder as well as yeast to cause the mixture to rise. Let's talk about yeast for just a little bit. Yeast cells, like human cells, undergo a process called cellular respiration. The whole goal of cellular respiration is to make energy. Let's look at the chemical equation of respiration to see what goes into the process and then what comes out of the process. So our inputs are glucose, which is a very simple sugar, oxygen, which can be found in the atmosphere, and our outputs, or what we get out of this equation, is ATP, the energy molecule, carbon dioxide, which is a waste, as well as water, another waste. Keep that equation in mind, because in order to make naan, cellular respiration has to occur. Let's get cooking. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make a simple mixture of water, honey, and active dry yeast. I'm going to take 1 cup of warm water and pour it into my mixing bowl, and I will have 2 tablespoons of honey. Now that I've added my water and honey, I will add my active dry yeast and then stir the mixture. So active dry yeast is actually a package of dormant yeast cells, meaning that these cells really are not doing a lot of cellular processes. The warm water essentially wakes these cells up, makes them activated. And one of the processes that these cells are immediately going to start doing is cellular respiration. So think back to that equation. Remember, for cellular respiration to occur, we need oxygen and glucose, or that sugar. Oxygen is surrounding the bowl. It's in the atmosphere, and it's also dissolved in the water. So there's plenty of oxygen for the yeast to get. The glucose comes from the honey. Honey has all that sugar. And so right now the yeast is taking that sugar from the honey and the oxygen in the atmosphere and making ATP, or our energy, as well as water and carbon dioxide as waste. Now, one of the cool things is I can actually see cellular respiration happening, even though it's occurring in itty bitty tiny cells. The way that I'm able to see this is that carbon dioxide that's being produced is being produced in water, or a liquid, so it makes bubbles. So I'm going to let this mixture sit for about 5 to 10 minutes, and when I come back, I should see that this mixture is very foamy. That carbon dioxide has produced those bubbles, and I'll have a nice foam over the top. It's been about 10 minutes since I initially mixed the yeast, water, and the honey. And if you come and look at the bowl, you can see that this mixture is very foamy. That yeast has been undergoing cellular respiration, producing that carbon dioxide gas, which is resulting in that foamy appearance. So this is a good thing. I know that my yeast is ready now to help me make bread. So I'm going to finish my dough mixture by combining my last few ingredients. In this bowl, I have several cups of flour, some salt, as well as baking powder. So I'm going to add that to my mixture. I'm also going to add 1 egg. And then finally, a 1/4 cup of yogurt. And this is just plain yogurt. Now I am going to put this with my mixture. I'll be using a kneading attachment to help make the dough, and I will knead it for about 2 to 3 minutes. So my dough is finished kneading. If you look inside the bowl, you can see that we have a fairly large ball of dough. I've actually greased the inside of this bowl with some olive oil. And now I'm going to cover it with a towel. And I'm going to let my dough sit for about an hour. This allows the dough to begin to rise. Now, dough rises because of the yeast. Remember, yeast is undergoing cellular respiration. It's breaking down that glucose, combining with that oxygen to produce the energy, the carbon dioxide, and the water. The carbon dioxide is becoming trapped inside the dough, and that trapped carbon dioxide is what causes the dough to expand. Now, eventually the yeast will run out of oxygen because it's inside the dough as well. It doesn't have access to all that oxygen in the atmosphere. When the yeast runs out of oxygen inside the dough, it's going to begin undergoing a different process called fermentation. In fermentation, we're still seeing the breakdown of glucose, but this is happening without oxygen present. And then the products are going to be a little bit different. In this case, we're still going to make a bit of energy, some carbon dioxide, so we'll have a bit more expansion, but we're also going to make ethanol, which is a type of alcohol. This causes the dough, once it becomes the bread, to have a certain flavor. So the production of ethanol is what's flavoring my dough as well. So it's been about 1 hour. The dough is finished rising. I took that very large piece of dough and I broke it up into 8 equally sized pieces so that I will have 8 pieces of naan. I took one of the pieces and rolled it out using my rolling pin to a thickness of 1/4 inch. The last thing I need to do before I can finally cook this naan is I'm going to brush some garlic infused butter on both sides of the naan, and then we will move it to a skillet and we will get it cooked. Okay, so we are now at the last part of cooking the naan. We have put it on a skillet with medium heat. We have the naan cooking for about 1 minute on one side, and then we will flip it and cook it for another minute on the other side, and then it will be ready to go.